Hello, welcome to today's stream of the clock out. I gotta tell you, your girl is in an interesting mood, so we'll see how this one goes, and hopefully I don't crash out while I'm talking. um, but today we are talking about buying black. We are talking about black tech, and also I'm giving a little bit of an update of like what I have seen as the difference on TikTok over the last couple of days since we've got it back after 12 hours. I don't really know if that should be called get it back. Sorry, there I go with forgetting to mute my stuff. I don't even know if we should be calling it get it back at this point, but whatever. So if you are joining me for this live, say hey girl, hey in the comments. As we talk, I'm super excited to be having this live. Hey y'all on TikTok. If I look this way, I'm looking at my little my TikTok stream on my tablet. But yeah, so today's topic, I just gave you a little bit of an overview, but I am going to share a little bit of like how I've been feeling a little bit about social media and buying black and supporting black owned businesses for the last couple weeks. Particularly with this whole thing was riled up in me due to the TikTok ban. So I'm going to talk about it. And then we're going to talk about some things that I'm doing to be more intentional about buying black. About how I spend my black owned dollars and like why I think this is important for us. So welcome on in. If you don't know me, my name is Mercedes Swan. I'm the career love coach. I'm a career and business coach for black women. I am on this mission to create spaces and opportunities for black women so that we can really step boldly into this era, our Black Woman Bliss Era, where we can build businesses, careers, and lifestyles we love, right? Black women, we are resting. We are calming our central nervous system. We are seeking our enjoyment. And that is what I'm here to do. And that is the era that I'm in. Okay. So if you don't know, the clock out is designed to be a space and a community-based space where black women, we can talk about kind of how we're feeling, what's going on, trending topics, things that you have asked for me to share based on my expertise. And so Cassie, who is in this beautiful online community, has asked to kind of talk a little bit more about buying black. So that's where we are. So I know y'all are here. Say hey girl, hey. Okay. Say hey girl, hey in the comments so I know that you all are here. Oh hey, welcome in. Welcome. Okay. So as we get started, I want to know, like, what is one black owned product that you love? What is something that is your go-to, something that you always use, and that you really couldn't stop speaking about it? Hey, Trip. Trip is saying hey in the comments. I see you, Trip. Hello. Okay, so story time. So if you are not chronically online like I am chronically online. It is because really I am a digital marketer, right? I market my business online. So I do spend quite a bit of time online. I spend quite a bit of time just learning about digital marketing practices, how to grow my business, really learning about how to do this well. And also sometimes I like the mess. I'm not even gonna lie to you. I like some mess sometimes. Sometimes I do spend way too much time. But there was a couple of, I guess it was like 2 weeks ago before the TikTok ban. And essentially everyone was on TikTok being like, go to the Red Note app. This is a protest. This is where we're going to go. We're going to find community over there. We're going to recreate all of the TikTok vibes that we have over there. And I was just like, okay. And like, I posted a video about it. And that video, like the responses in that video were actually like very disappointing to me, because I felt like I was fighting other black people to like understand the benefits of why it's important to buy black in this community and in this time, in this space. And so, so essentially Red Note is a Chinese owned app. So essentially what people were doing was saying, hey, I know TikTok is going away, but the reason why they are taking TikTok away is because it is a source of the flow of knowledge. Things that and I'm saying that for myself too, things that I would not have found out otherwise, would not have learned, or would not have understood about myself. I found out on TikTok. And a lot of people think that is in part why, one, its growth, the power of its algorithm, but also the freedom of speech that happens on TikTok. And so I get that if you want to kind of make a point saying, oh, you're going to say that the reason why you're banning TikTok is due to, hey, y'all, welcome into the live. um, so I totally understand if, you see this as something that is a protest, because essentially if you're saying that you're banning TikTok because of, basically foreign influence, lack of security, national security because of that, then essentially like this could be absolutely something that's very damaging if that is truly what's happening. Uh, okay, so Trip in the comment, I don't know why there's crying in the comment. So what is a launch party? So I'm launching a community for Black women, for us to be able to have a space where we can learn, grow, and support each other. So I'm launching a launch party. I'm holding a launch party to relaunch that community. So that is what I'm doing. Thanks for asking, Trip. Okay, so anyway, so as this was all going on, like, it was fine. Like, there are all these creators talking about it, like, oh, I guess we're going to Red Note, we're making a joke. But I feel like there was a lot of time and space to have also, like, it didn't mean that you didn't need to say what you needed to say about Red Note, but I found it so strange that nobody was talking about Black owned apps, and particularly Spill and Fanbase. So Spill and Fanbase are two apps that I've seen kind of floating out there for a while that are Black owned. And I didn't really see, like I said, any support for them. So I went on TikTok, I made a video, and I was like, so we're going to talk about Red Note and we're going to talk about that, but we're not also going to promote Black owned apps. And that's when I was seeing a lot of people just talking about, oh, it's glitchy, oh, it doesn't work. And it's a challenge, right? And I feel like it's so hard to feel that way, because when you look at developing an app or developing tech, right, and the capital that is needed to build those types of platforms, it's clearly inequitable in terms of the resources that Black-owned businesses and Black entrepreneurs have access to, and the support that we have access to, knowledge, whatever you want to call it, talent. I don't care which angle you take it at. We are under-resourced, right? And the playing field is not the same. And so right now, like, that is why I'm having this conversation. Like, I'm doubling down on the fact that we do need to rethink about how about buying Black, about how we're building up and supporting other Black creators and other Black businesses, and also how we really create these platforms that really help us to package our brilliance, right? Because it's not just about all of these apps out here. It is also about Black women building wealth, right? And that's part of why I do what I do. And so it was really hard looking at some of those. And like, I even had some like Black creators that I really respect and like, who just, I feel like I kind of lost some love. I felt like I lost some love for that, over the last couple of days. So, all of that being said, yeah, so let's talk about this. So I feel like a lot of the issues that I was hearing or listening to as I was kind of seeing these comments come through on that video was like this idea that we can't deal with other Black businesses. Like, the tone was like, oh, like, I'm gonna be honest, like, when I was growing up, I remember even like within family, other friends, of like, oh yeah, you just can't go into Black owned businesses. Like, they keep things ghetto. They don't act right. They don't have good customer service. Like, you can't deal with other Black businesses, right? And I was like, sure, there are probably some Black businesses that would apply to, but why are we choosing not to, invest in other Black owned businesses from that angle, right? Because one, that is perpetuating a stereotype, right? And those same stereotypes that impact us in the workplace and other places, we're just like we're using that stereotype against each other, right? To say that we aren't excellent, that we aren't good business owners, that we aren't good professionals, right? That we can't do these jobs, right? We can't, right? And that's where we have, the stupid rhetoric that comes up on the other end of like DEI hires, DEI jobs. It's like, no, like, let's actually look at it from an equity lens and understand that some Black businesses, I mean, I shouldn't even say some, Black businesses are often under resourced, right? And so I want to talk about this in the context of that we often have these standards, and it's not just standards for like other businesses, but it's also Black professionals. It's also other individuals that we deal with outside of the workplace or outside of business, where we have a different standard for other businesses and other people than we do for ourselves. I was absolutely thinking about like all the comments and feedback that I got about essentially fan base, and people was like, oh, it's glitchy, oh, it doesn't work well, the vibe is off over there. But my thoughts are, it's like, okay, is the vibe off over there because it's under resourced, right? So they're in another crowdfunding round, which I have loved seeing all the updates on how much they funded. I think it was 7 million today on fan base for this next round of funding, which they are crowdfunding. And I think that's, indicative too of, do businesses really, would a tech business, a large tech business realistically go out to crowdfund, or would they have rather have had investors or venture capital to support that? And, I'm speculating, like I have no idea, but it is very interesting to me that that is a route. And not that you can't, again, invest in other Black owned businesses. I don't mean to like not go invest in them, but again, it is what access to capital do we have, and why is it that that was a choice to go ahead and do crowdfunding versus a full, like, venture capital, angel investing, whatever capital is out there, business, all of those things, right? So those are just my thoughts. And so, but really I left that saying like, okay, this is an issue. How do we talk about this? How do we better support Black owned businesses? And then on top of it, like I'm going to just say this, like a lot of TikTok culture that is out there is based on Black culture, right? And the way that Black people cultivated a lot of the trends and the language and all of these things there on TikTok is ultimately indicative of all of the Black creators that chose to and still do like create on TikTok, right? And so then what does that mean if we were to invest that talent, invest the vibes, invest all of the resources and time that we put into TikTok into a Black owned app, right? And like, I will also say this, like TikTok is not perfect, right? I face glitches every time I get on TikTok. I face problems, challenges. And so I'm just really interested as to why why we don't have the same type of standards for TikTok that we would for fan base, right? And the other thing that I'm thinking about here is like Black creators understood the challenges that we face, and so then therefore started to have more conversations about how the Black community can be supported, engaged, and provided resources at TikTok, right? So that's where a lot of these TikTok initiatives, and like I've absolutely seen them, there were Black TikTok creator events and ways to engage the Black community on TikTok that asking for those resources ultimately led for greater support for creators on TikTok, right? But now here we are after what I'm calling the TikTok blip, and seeing that essentially essentially there are parts in the search for TikTok that are not the same. I have personally not seen any like filtering. I have not seen any filtering of comments or content on my TikTok feed. I will say that it does very much feel the same. But I also think that it's interesting that my TikTok isn't getting pushed out. My TikTok stream is not getting pushed out. So we'll see what that means, right? But it's everywhere else. So, that's something to think about. All of that being said, I think I just wanted to really open up like the thought that like, what does this look like to really like see what we're dealing with right now, how we view Black owned businesses, how we support them, how do we compare them to non-Black owned businesses, and really like what we can do next. So I'm going to talk a little bit about like our economic impact, things that I'm doing, things that you could be doing, and like ways to kind of leverage this for our support as we go into the next 4 years. I don't know who you are, Liam, but you said based on what? So I'm sure you can answer what that is, and then I'll consider whether or not I want to answer it. Okay, so for the economic influence of the Black community, right? We right now hold about 9% of the spending power of the United States, right? Every single year. That was last updated in 2023. I could not find numbers for 2024. I guess maybe they haven't calculated or finalized those numbers, but like that was the last accurate number that I feel like I could find. They do have numbers for like quarter 3, but they don't have quarters for Q4. So I would assume that maybe that's shifted a little bit. Not sure which way I would say. But ultimately, we do have 9%, right? Which is a lot, it's a lot, right? Of every single dollar that's spent every single year, 9% of it is Black people. And so that means we have the opportunity to use that spending power to invest in other Black owned businesses. I think the interesting thing here is that, we have, if I look at this chart, right, I went to go to Pew Research to just kind of see what like the wealth gap is. And essentially, white households now, like, there has been a change. So there's been an increase. There has been an increase in wealth. I don't think we're growing at the same rate at all. But essentially, white households have 9 times more wealth than Black households. And overall, Black households have less wealth than Hispanic, Asian, or multiracial households. So essentially, this wealth is hard. It has been a challenge to keep within the Black community. And I think we also know that there are systemic challenges to building wealth, right? I talked about some of them, right? But things like, access to capital, access to loans, access to things that will help us build a business, access to home ownership. We talk about the pay gap. Like, there are so many reasons as to why essentially it's more challenging for the Black community to build wealth, right? And also over time, right, where we think about how relatively short period of time where we had somewhat equal access to, the workplace, home ownership, access to funds, capital, those types of things. Okay. Okay, Liam, so you want to have this conversation. So I was unaware TikTok was heavily influenced by the Black community. That is something I haven't had before. How did you come to this conclusion? So when I joined, I'm going to assume that this is like a very curious question. So I assume when I joined TikTok in around, what did I join? I think I started watching TikTok in the pandemic, as everybody else did, but I don't think I really started creating content until 2021, maybe 2022. And there was essentially this challenge where Black creators were creating either a dance, right? So we know that TikTok originally was based on dancing. And so we would see Black creators have different outcomes for their dances, right? So it was either that they were receiving less views, their sounds or their videos were being stolen, their choreography essentially, sometimes line by line, their content. And because of the way that the world works, that same investment of time and energy was more appreciated for other audiences, right? So we talk about the size of influencers on TikTok, and we talk about like how a lot of the times, right, creators of certain demographics, right, are ultimately have more views. I think it's just based on like affinity bias, right? So we're more likely to connect with somebody who looks more like us. We're more likely to want to be in community with them. That's just a nature of humans and the way that we are, right? So of course, if you have more individuals of a certain ethnicity or background on a platform, you're more likely to gravitate to those people just based on psychology and how we work as humans. But essentially, that did lead to the silencing and undercutting of a lot of Black creators. It also led to censoring of Black creators, right? So there was content where Black creators would really talk about how another creator had stole their content, had stole their information and repurposed it, stole their dances. There's a variety of different ways that happened, and that ultimately, like, the video was taken down. They weren't listened to. They were, just kind of like talked over by the other creator, who was not a part of the Black community. So these are the things that really happened, that Black creators watched happen on TikTok for a while. Hey CJ, welcome to the live. And so these are things that happen. There is also a problem with lots of censoring on TikTok. Explain what happened. Explain how what happened, Liam. Oh goodness. But essentially, um, yeah, over time, also the censoring had challenges, right? So if we go to TikTok to understand and to learn, but certain contexts, such as, oh, we want to talk about basically palm colored supremacy, or we want to talk about critical race theory, we want to talk about history, those things are being silenced or erased and given community violations. Whereas we see, like, we see all of the MAGA posts, those are not silenced. Those don't have community violations. And often, sometimes I've seen some of my favorite creators who are talking about social justice and equity and diversity, equity, inclusion. Those people's accounts have been mass reported and erased and deleted. And they've had to start over or lost income as a creator due to that, when essentially things that they did were not in community violations. It was just because it was a targeted attack from individuals who didn't agree with them. And so, yeah, TikTok has been over time like an increasingly challenging place for you to have some of those open dialogues about challenges that the Black community has and others. So yeah, and I watched all of that because I told you I was chronically online. Okay, so all of that definitely happened, and I am worried about what that's going to look like for the future of TikTok. All right, Liam. So this is going to be my last question that I answer for you. I'm going to go ahead and block you. So TikTok is a Chinese company. Could you not say the Black community appropriated a Chinese app? No. You can't appropriate an app because it's not a part of culture in that way. Like, yes, you might be able to say, okay, somebody colonized an app, but overall, you have to look at the systems of power, right? And so, did the Black community have the power to control the app? Did the Black community have the power to profit off of this app in an undue way, right? That wasn't a result of their payment and their work and their labor on the app. No, so there wasn't a way that you could say we stole that app, like a Chinese app. And there's also a lot of information about why people think that TikTok is a Chinese app or a Chinese company, right? So if you go and look at information, there's plenty of information out there as confirmed by the CEO of like who owns TikTok, who's on the board of directors, and where the information is stored. So no, I could not say that we appropriated a Chinese app because we did not use it for our own benefit when the original individuals, I assume that you're saying Chinese people or an app, was negatively or adversely impacted from that. So you're good. See you later, Liam, because I don't feel like you're necessarily trying to have a good yeah, good conversation about that, but that's okay. Okay. All right, cool. So then let's talk about more like options for buying Black. Hey, CJ. Hi. Sorry I missed you. Thank you for the likes. I'm glad that you're here. Um, okay, so let's talk about buying Black. So my goal that I mean, this is not a recent thing, like just due to the world, right? I've been on this journey of trying to figure out how to integrate buying Black into more of my day to day. And I feel like I picked, I don't know, I don't say the bigger life things to start with. And I feel like there's ways each and every day that I kind of get closer and closer to, oops, I'm trying to take that off. I'm trying to, I forgot that comment was still up there. Anyway, I told y'all I was in a mood. So Liam, hold it together. Okay. Okay. So as we go to this, I did say in the beginning that I would love for you to drop any Black owned apps, any Black owned products, services, whatever businesses that you all like to buy from in the comments. Let me know, because that was one of the things that I really loved about that video that went like, that kind of popped off a little. It didn't go off, but like it went off a little bit, and I was able to find some more Black owned apps. So we'll talk about those, but I would love to know what Black owned apps you use. Okay. So I would say like I have really tried my hardest to really support Black owned businesses and just ways that I can more embed that into my life. So when I was finally older and got my own primary care doctor, I made sure that the doctor's office was owned by a Black man. I went to a psychiatrist that was a Black woman. I went to a therapist that was a Black woman. And to the extent possible, like I definitely have been trying to look for ways to embed Black owned technology. And I feel like it's important for us to think about that because, again, in this space and time of wanting to build Black wealth and also to be able to take care of our communities, right, which is a really important thing. I think that Black owned businesses are much more likely than others to have that real community focus, right? There was a conversation that was, I mean, it was an online conversation, chronically online, okay, chronically online, which it was talking about, you cannot remove DE&I initiatives from, if we're using the DEI in the way that it's not meant to be used, which is like to call somebody a DEI hire, right? Which has just been used as calling somebody a Black affirmative hire, right? It's like you can't remove DEI, right? Like if I'm a Black woman and I need to be supported and I need to be resourced, and my goal is to support other Black women, it's hard to remove those two things, right? And so that was some of the conversation here. And I think as Black owned businesses, we tend to be a lot more community focused and also to reinvest in communities in ways that we would not have before, right? And so so that's one piece of that. But also one of the things that's kind of that I'm finding that's happening out there on the internet too is people are like getting online and saying like, oh, in the next 4 years with this administration, we really we need to do this, we need to do this, we need to do this. And I find it challenging because I'm not saying that I don't see things that we need to do, but I'm also trying to take action on those things. And so I encourage you here, like if you have an idea, if you want to if you right want to be a Black owned business owner, to do it, right? There was this, anyway, I'm chronically online, okay, but there's this other one that was like, if you are a Black person and you are doubting whether or not to do something, to open a type of business or whatever, like do it, because it's very likely that you're the only, like we can't find you. I was talking about like I always try and go find a Black content creator to share the same resources that I would as a non-Black creator, right? Because of the lens, because of the understanding of the dynamic of what it means to be Black and exist in America, right? And so if I'm going to invest time or money into somebody else, I want them to look like me, right? In this time, right? And so like find out what it is that you want to do. What do you think that the world needs, and like take action on it. I'm not saying, sometimes I feel like, oh, a little bit guilty because I was like, I don't know, maybe I need to go do some activism. Maybe I need to go figure out how to organize, and like maybe I will. like maybe I will. But like we all have gifts, and I think we have to use those and like what that means for us in this space, right? So a couple of the things I'll share with you, like some of the things that I'm planning on doing with my business as it relates to this, but I'm also going to talk about like one that I found, which is Black and Bold coffee. So I happened to be in Winn-Dixie a couple months ago, and I was like, I saw this coffee and it was called Black and Bold. And I was like, I looked at it and I was like, wait, it looks like it's Black coated coffee. You know what I'm saying? You look at it like that looks like a Black person made it. Okay. Not that just because it was Black and Bold coffee, like Black coffee is a thing, but like, no, they spelled Black BLK. And then there was a little crown. It looked like it was graffiti. And I was like, I might have to go try this. So I'm in Walgreens, no signal, like trying to look it up. Anyway, Black owned a coffee company, and their coffee is really good. So now I only buy Black and Bold coffee, and I think it's 5% of their profits are donated. I think it's like a nonprofit that it goes to, but essentially, like that's what I'm talking about. Like us being able to build wealth means that we can like reinvest that wealth into the community and see things change and things grow. And that's what's important for me. And that's why I have the business that I have today, because I want other Black women to grow. I want other Black women to build a business. I want other Black women to have a career that they love. And I'm not saying which one or both or none or whatever. Well, none. Like, I mean, I guess, yeah, you're going to have one, right? You're going to have a business or a career, unless you are like independently wealthy, which I want for you too. But that being said, like that is why I do what I do. And one of the things that I'm with the relaunch of my Career Love community, I'm definitely going to be doing scholarships. So I want people who want access to the community, but do not have the resources to invest in it to be able to do that. So I don't know exactly what I'm going to do. I'm thinking maybe like one a scholarship membership for every 10 Black women that join the community as a way for it to grow, for the scholarship to grow with the community. I also eventually want to have a nonprofit that provides career resources to under-resourced Black women. And well, I probably won't do Black women. I'll probably do the Black community. But that being said, like that is what I want to do. And that's what I'm excited to do. And I think all of these things ultimately allow for us to, again, give back to the community. The other thing that I'm doing, so if you didn't know that, like prior to being full-time in my business, I did diversity, equity, and inclusion. And in that work, not like in the work at work, like in an employer, but I launched a tech startup called Niche. And that's what I'm kind of talking about here of like, how do we be the change, or how do we meet the need that we see that we have? And so I found that like in my career coaching business as well as work, that we do not have access to exploring new career paths. Like how do I ensure that individuals who are underrepresented actually know, right? Because that's what happens. Like clients will come and they'll talk to me and they'll be like, I don't know what career path I should choose. Where should I go? You know, like how do I really discover career paths that were never, you know, that I would not have otherwise known from? I talk a lot about like my family and how like everybody in my family was from healthcare, and I just did not, I mean, I had no connection with healthcare other than like the same people that are like, oh, I mean, I guess it would be kind of ambitious to be a doctor. Like I could be a Black woman doctor, but like I didn't want to be in the health and medical field, right? So it's like all of those things of like where is it that you really need to be? And I think by helping people understand more about what their professional values are, what their strengths are, what they're passionate about doing, can ultimately allow greater representation and more equitable representation across different career paths and fields, right? So I launched, now I shouldn't say I launched because it's not, I mean, it's out there, but like it's in all the testing things. But I essentially created an app called Niche, and my fiance helped to code it because he's an app developer. Well, thanks for the likes, LB. And so, yeah, I'm doing it, right? Because it's what I believe in. And I think it's within my skill set to understand, because I'm in human resources and DEI. And I hope that one day, like, people are going to be able to get on that app and find employers that have committed to DE&I, and they're going to go through like a niche certification, right? And they're going to understand, they're going to go through training, and maybe even their recruiters are going to learn what like not DE&I recruitment, but diversity recruitment and equitable and inclusive hiring practices would mean, right? And so then suddenly underrepresented talent knows that the individual out there, you know, is this AI? Oh, no, it's not AI. I'll answer that in a minute. Evangel. But then recruiters who are out there, so talent who's out there that's used to being, used to working in environments that are not inclusive or do not value diverse talent, can have some level of security that this app could connect them with recruiters who have gone through a training, and who have hiring managers who have gone through training, so that we can again have that representation, but in like a safer work environment. And so even jealous. So no, this is not AI. I've done this from scratch. So I've mapped out all the career paths based on my experience and expertise in recruitment, talent acquisition, HR, whatever you want to call it. And I have mapped those to the values and experiences. I'm sure at some point, I'll integrate AI, but right now it is not. And it's just because honestly, I kind of started this idea before AI was really a huge thing. And maybe as widely accessible as it is right now, but yeah, it's not AI. It is me and all of my energy and love. But yeah, so if you want to know more about it, like you can absolutely reach out to me. I do have a wait list that I've created to kind of help when this goes live, but I'm honestly in the space of really building my community first. So essentially, if you want to learn about it, you can get on the list. But yeah, I'm excited about that. And again, this goal of like, how are we creating the tech and what we want to see, and how we want to support, this vision of a different world. So yeah. Hope you go look at Niche. Niche.com. Okay. So another thing that I have been doing in this idea or this goal of like buying Black, supporting other Black owned businesses is really redirecting funds. So I've been trying my very hardest to keep an eye on basically organizations that are organizations, companies, whatever, that are supporting DE&I, right? So the last time one of my videos just like randomly popped off on TikTok, it was where I was talking about diversity, equity, and inclusion. And that was like in tandem with everybody trying to figure out like why Walmart was backing off of D&I and what that meant. And like, I was glad to have had oh, it's interesting. Okay, I'm gonna listen to this. So I was glad to have had people really learning what DEI was, maybe for the first time in a very understandable way. If you are here, you still feel like you're not quite sure like what DEI is outside of how it's been politicized, then I have another video where it's called, I think I called it DEI is not done. What really is DEI? You can go learn about that, because essentially, you know, how it's been seen politically, and how sometimes it's been put into practice in ways that do not support the tenet and the, I guess, philosophy or the idea, the heart of what DEI is. So yeah. So anyway, so right, there's organizations like Walmart that have chosen to back away from DEI, and there are organizations like Costco that have chosen to support DEI. And so what I'm trying to do is kind of find replacements, right? So if I can't find an organization that is supporting diversity, equity, and inclusion, I'm at least trying to find one that's neutral. But my goal is to say yes, supporting DEI. And I think something that's important for me is to understand, like, it's not like the performative support of DEI. And I've talked about this a lot, like where if you like, people who are in DEI were not surprised when Walmart decided to back away from DEI, because they were really not about that life in the first place. So in reality, like a lot of the terrible PR, you know, how people are represented in leadership at Walmart ultimately led me to really believe that they weren't really doing DEI right at their organization, right? And DEI comes under a lot of scrutiny when it's seen in practice, quote unquote, in practice, in these organizations that are really not doing like truly systemic or transformational work or providing the initiatives or support that they need. And so when DEI goes away and they have, quote unquote, nothing to show for it, it's not really surprising, right? So for a Walmart, if you have a world where a Ben suddenly doesn't support DE&I, or like a Costco support DE&I, I would be genuinely shocked, because they have always been organizations that supported. So Costco, they're always, and I've known this, like, I think we did a study on them, like in, uh, what is that, in high school? Was it high school or was it college? It might have been college. But just talked about a lot of their practices and their workplace culture as a very inclusive place. Ben and Jerry's has always been about that social justice life, right? It was always on their social media. It was always very clear about what they stood for. So it's why I'm not surprised that they're doing things like helping to organize marches and talking about privilege and talking about progressive policies in the workplace and otherwise out of the world today. So that's what I'm talking about. I'm really trying to find those organizations that are supporting the work and are deeply committed. Whew, okay. So for me, like I said, I'm going to other organizations to buy food. I was even online, but I was like, I cannot buy a whole cow. But I found this like Black owned farm that basically what they do is they sell large portions of cows, and they sell whole cows actually, but I was not paying for a whole cow. And you can order it from them. They will like butcher it. Can I say that word? They will prepare it for you, and then send it out to you. And my fiance is absolutely a doomsday prepper kind of guy. So he was kind of excited about the opportunity. I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. I'm not paying that much for a cow. So yeah. Another one that I've been finding, thanks for the likes, B. Another one that I've been finding is there's Good Foods that I found or discovered on TikTok, and they are basically a Black owned family. I think they own a farm, but they basically prepare canned foods and vegetables, and it's Black owned as well. So I think at some point I'll try to like see if I can purchase directly from them, maybe en masse, just different creative ways that I can go about redirecting funds into the Black community. I'm going to say that I've been doing this. I've been thinking about these things and trying to proactively do that over years. And I try not to I really try not to overwhelm myself because I think if I tried to shift everything overnight, I'd have a challenge with that. I think honestly, one of the ones that has to be next for me right now is Amazon. And so for me, I'm trying to say before I would order on Amazon, let me see if there's another way that I can order from a Black owned business. So one of the things that I got to go figure out where to buy is like a tea. When you know those things where it's like a tea infuser, I gotta go find one of those because I'm trying not to order on Amazon. Like there's just a lot of things I think it adds additional layer of stress and consideration before you buy anything. But that's where I am. Okay, so quick pause. Thank you for all the likes on TikTok. I'm glad to see TikTok's finally sending it out. I said, I guess I put TikTok censorship in the title, so TikTok said they're not sending it out. I don't know. Okay. So let me know. So Anthony said it's not easy to determine. So I think Anthony is talking about like how it's not easy to determine like which organizations are supportive of DE&I or which ones are not. I think there's a couple of ways, at least for me, that I identify that. And is it just on a website? Or do they actually invest money into that, right? I know it's hard to kind of see that, right? But like there is a Walmart Foundation. There was supposed to be grants given from Walmart to support Black-owned businesses, to support Black-owned initiatives or things that supported Black-owned organizations. And as far as I know, like I never remember seeing a press report. I did see somebody post like the numbers of what Walmart did like invest, but again, it wasn't something that I was like, oh, I really see how this is impacting the community. So I think it's not just seeing what words are being said or what they're saying they're going to do, but actually what they are doing. And another thing that was clear to me that Walmart wasn't doing it right is I remember, I will never forget. And this is the moment where I was like, I'm not going into Walmart ever again. I mean, I did just because I don't know. I think I spent like $50 last year at Walmart, which I said, I don't know, I must have had to desperately get something from there. And so I call myself out, right? Like I tried. But yeah, they did that weird Juneteenth like ice cream thing. And it was like the most performative celebration of Juneteenth. Like, don't celebrate Juneteenth by trying to sell me a colorful Juneteenth colored ice cream. Like, really do the work. You know what I'm saying? Like, or what that was a performative way of engaging the Black community. What would have been an authentic way to engage the Black community is like Target, right? Where they have Black owned businesses that they're purchasing merchandise from, like Tabitha or Issa Rae is featured in there. They have inclusive images of Black people in the store, right? Like those are things that are not just performative, they are embedded into the way that they do things. And I can tell that about how Target, again, not saying that Target is a perfect place or a perfect thing, right? I don't know all the inner workings, but I'm saying that there are signs that I see and I listen to that help me better determine like whether or not this is an organization that's really about that life or not. Money, time, like intentionality behind what they do. So I wanted to mention like one of the things that I'm going to start doing, and that, I mean, I have done them because they're on my phone, but it is a thought, right? Of like, okay, I have to choose how I'm investing my time. But there is Blamazon, and I think they're relaunching, but essentially was basically a way to like buy Black owned. And I think they were going to have an app as well. I think they did, but I think they're kind of like in the process of redoing that. And then there's a app that I have on my phone. It's called Blap. And so it allows you to find Black owned businesses. And so that's something that I try and do. Like, how can I support other Black owned businesses when I'm traveling or I'm staying somewhere or whatever? Now, let's kind of talk about, like, I know I was telling you this, but like, I don't know if we want to call it like the downfall of TikTok, the the censorship, I don't know what we're going to call it. But like, I have not finished processing all of my big feelings that I have about TikTok and whether I want to continue to be on the platform. So TikTok for me is definitely my largest following. So I'm at like 13,000 on TikTok. On YouTube, I think I'm at 2,000. Is it 2,000, 3,000? Anyway, 2,000. And like LinkedIn, I just passed 6,000, I think. So it's definitely kind of would be a loss of a platform for me if I left. And there's also lots of community that I've built on TikTok, and they're hanging out with me right now on TikTok, right? And I do get really sad because I do think big apps like TikTok, where the Black community was able to create a space and was able to really talk about issues that, we wouldn't have been able to talk about other places like the Meta apps, and like what that means to like lose that sense of community, because how many people, like kind of just the mass, right? The mass centralization of people there. And so I'm really not sure about how I feel about it yet. And so it's kind of the same thing about, like, I feel like I didn't really enjoy the Meta apps. Like, I had Facebook just because of family, for just how long I've had it, or people from like high school or college that were I was connected to. But it was really more about like checking in and seeing what other people from my life in the past, because family I just connect with on WhatsApp, which is another thing. But it was really no loss of me not logging into Facebook. It's really no loss of me logging into Instagram. And I definitely did not like X or Twitter like before this whole thing happened. So like that was easy for me, but it will be interesting to kind of see what I end up deciding about TikTok, because I'm not sure yet. But it's a moment that we've been waiting for. I'm going to talk about these Black owned apps. Okay. So Fanbase. Oh, I should have brought my my phone in here. Let's see if you can actually see it. Well, but Fanbase is one that I made a profile right around the TikTok ban, so I can't say that I was on there beforehand. And I do understand, like, I'm not gonna gaslight people and say that Fanbase is not glitchy, but here's my video on there. I'm not going to say that it's not like glitchy or that everything is perfect, but I do really like the different offerings that Fanbase has. So it does have the short form content. It does have pictures, images, and then I think they have like longer form videos there, but I haven't really explored that. They have live features. And what I think is really cool about Fanbase that people were complaining about is that it does allow you to like be monetized immediately, right? So you can immediately get on, doesn't matter how many followers you have, and you can have like a subscription like how TikTok does or how YouTube has those subscriptions. And then it also allows you to heart things, which you pay money for the hearts, and then you can heart people. You can heart their content and it gives them whatever, it adds it to their wallet, they get money. I guess at some point I got a love, so I got 1 cent of love. I don't even remember when I got that, but thank you. Oh, I got 2 loves. Thank you for whoever 2 loved my stuff. And then so see, automatically, and I only have 15 followers on there, because I only have 3 videos, but I'm working on it. And then I have they have the regular likes that they have. So people like, I don't know how to like content. I'm not gonna follow because I can't like a content. Like, yes, you can like it. It's free to like it. It's money for the hearts. And so I think it has a lot of functionality. I feel like I do need to spend more time on it to feel like I'm really getting my like timeline to look like what I want it to look like. But like it's working. Okay. So I'm gonna spend more time on Fanbase. Now, Spill is big. I want to spend many, many hours on Spill. And at this point, I have actually started to spend many, many hours on Spill. I think out of all of these that I've like tried.
Hi, it's Dr. Renee speaking.
Hi, Dr. Renee. I'm sorry. But the Spill interface is just like, I think the most beautiful thing. Like, it's just aesthetically pleasing. It lets you change your colors. I haven't done it yet, but like the background images and how you can customize your profile is just really warm and not, it's just very aesthetically pleasing. The app is definitely like all Black people. I don't think I've seen non-Black people on this app before. So for those of you who are watching who may not be Black, let this continue to be our space and just ignore Spill, okay? But that being said, there were groups. I just created a Black Woman Bliss group, I think 2 days ago, and there's like 29 people in there. So I'm really excited about continuing to grow that group on that space. So I'm really excited about how warm. And what I really like, people say this like about Spill, like Spill feels like home. Spill feels like a very safe space for the Black community. And what I have found, and like I don't identify as a member of the LGBTQ plus community, but I feel like it is a very safe space for the LGBTQ plus community on there. Every day I open it up and I see a post that's supportive. I think it's Trans Tuesday. Yeah, there it is. So it's trans. I'm not going to post it because but it's Trans Tuesday, and I have loved seeing that, just seeing safety. I didn't even okay, there's 2 posts about transgender people. This one says, protect trans folks. I just love that it has this inclusivity in mind. Like, I feel like the community guidelines on there, like truly authentically like followed and appreciated, and it's just a really warm space. So anyway, I really love Spill. Now, another one that I'm going to just quickly mention is Spoutable. I have not used Spoutable because it is not available on Android. And the other one is Rebuy. I think I'm saying that right. Sorry, the Rebuy people, because I think both Spill and Rebuy like followed me on TikTok after I made that video, which I was like happy to do it, and I was like happy for them to get some attention. But like, yeah. So sorry if I said that wrong, but it's REEBY and Spoutable, SPOUTIBLE. So those are both there, but I can't access them because they don't have it on Android yet. And the last one that I'm going to mention that I found is the Soft app. I'm going to bring it up. And so it's a neurodivergent Black woman that created this, and it's so cute. I have not used it, but I do have ADHD, so I identify as neurodivergent. And so later, I just found this one, like, yes. I found this one on Sunday. Was it Saturday? Saturday, I think, late, because people were talking about how people were going to kind of like keep all of the neurodivergent content from TikTok, because essentially like it's just disappearing, and a lot of neurodivergent people were like, how do I find this content elsewhere? Like for me, who felt like, TikTok helped me with my diagnosis because I did not know I had ADHD, and so I found ADHD content, and I was like, oh, that's what's happening to me. Crazy that I'm just finding that out now. But yeah, so it says weekly unmasking challenges, connecting in community with for empathic neurodivergence, and multiple chat rooms to share and connect. So I'm excited about this one to see how I'll be connecting with my neurodivergent people on that app. But yeah, that's the rant. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you leave this live with like a renewed sense of hope of supporting Black-owned businesses, about what we can do together if we support each other. Because again, I think if we're not going to receive the support outside of the community to have equitable access to the things that we need, at the very least, we can support each other and not hold each other to different standards, or to accountable in a way that we would not any other apps, right? So that we can invest and grow. So if you're still here, thank you so much for joining me. My energy was a little bit lower because your girl was just having I was like, I don't know, I want to stay in bed today. And that's okay, because your girl has been working, okay? Your girl has been working on this launch party. So before I leave, I just wanted to say, yes, I am. This is the reason why I'm doing this, right? I want Black women to be well paid. I want them to be rested. I want them to be fulfilled. I want them to be happy. I want them to be in their Black Woman Bliss era, in career and in business, right? So I am creating this community for Black women to do that. So if you want to join me, you can scan this QR code to join me for the launch party. I am this close. In fact, I might post it tomorrow to start really allowing signups for the registration for the webinar that I'll be having as part of this launch party. And so you can join using that QR code, or you can go to the link in my profile. So if you are on TikTok, y'all know where to go in the bio. If you are on LinkedIn, I posted it in the comments. You can go there. And if you are on YouTube, it is in the description box. So if you don't have the QR code, you can absolutely do that. Okay, so I always open up for questions. I feel like I did get a couple of questions, which I'm not really sure were all, questions that we were trying to be fair or have a constructive conversation about, but that is okay. Hopefully I educated some people today. If not, well, there it is. So all of that being said, like, really love you all. I feel like, I don't know. I guess because maybe this conversation was a little like, I'm feeling like a little about it. Like I don't feel warm and fluffy talking about this, because I was like, we need to get it together. We need to get it together and invest in other Black-owned businesses, and not use. I shouldn't be guilted for investing in other Black-owned businesses, but like, let's deconstruct that. Let's really deconstruct why we have an issue, or why we feel attacked when people are telling us to invest in other Black-owned business. Oh gosh, we have some things that are very derogatory. Blocked. Thank you. How do I delete that? Goodness gracious. Okay, it's gone. Jeez. I was almost done. Okay, well, I hope you all enjoyed this. I hope you all enjoyed this live, and I will see you tomorrow. I wanted to take a break of like content, so tomorrow I am doing powerful Black women in history trivia. Oh, okay. I don't even know. Is that English? I don't know if that's English. We got some weird people on here now. But I am doing Powerful Black Women in History Trivia on here. So you'll be able to join. So that means you need to bring or have at least 2 screens. So if you're doing on your computer, you need to have one to watch and one to participate in the trivia. Or if you're going to do it like on your phone, you need another screen for the trivia so that you can see, and then you can do it on your phone so you can join. But yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. And I'm basically going to be doing trivia about, different, like identifying who it is, identifying like their story, different facts about them. I'm super excited about that. So I will see you all at 6 p.m. tomorrow to do that. So all you need to do is just go register so you can get notified so that you don't miss trivia. Okay. As always, I love you all. Also, CJ, I think I told you this. I think you missed the video that I created in response to the toxic job search cycle that you had asked for. And so it is on YouTube or LinkedIn if you want to rewatch the replay, if you're like on there, but TikTok doesn't do the replay. So, okay. Love y'all. Bye. See you next time.